Hey guys, it's Matt. No, I'm not gonna. You're gonna do this horse shit? No, I'm not gonna do it. No, I'm not gonna do that horse shit again. Guys, a lot to catch up on, a lot to talk about. Found a pretty good descriptor, one sentence descriptor for this world. This is a world that won't leave real people alone. Does it leave? If the NPC exists, does it leave the NPC alone? I don't think it leaves anybody alone. A world that simply will not leave people alone. And the fine print on that, or the second part of that, would be in how hard it works to not leave people alone. It can't possibly be real. It gives itself away as being artificial. Is there anywhere to go in this world to be left alone? I mean, you would think Yemen, right? Like a place like that. But then here come the Saudi F-16s to ruin your lunch with whatever it makes sense why they'd be bombing out the Bedouins of Yemen. But this is a real news story, I believe. Is it the war that never ends? It goes on and on and on. I should have spent more time at CNN.com. You can always take a look before making these videos. It said, from CNN.com, it said, I don't know if it said five or six. Oh boy, that's the 11. I think it said six major takeaways from last night's third GOP debate. I hadn't. The GOP debates or Republican political debates are taking place. I had no idea. I scrolled through it a bit. You have that complete useless retread, Governor Christie. Come here, Czar. Come here, Czar. People want to see a Czar. That complete retread, Governor Christie. You have Scott or whatever, the Senator Scott, Nikki Haley, just bickering at each other, badgering each other on stage. And I mean, I remember watching these debates and believing in them. Gosh, when was the last ones I watched that I believed in any way the process was still real? I watched Mitt Romney debate Obama, and I voted. I did vote for Romney. And of course, yeah, we're at that time, of course, in the truth of progression, we're becoming skeptical of how things work. But, I still was in that camp that, it's my duty to vote. And, who knows how lost I was or we all were. And I remember Romney at one point in the in the debate, didn't he turn to someone and say, "I'll bet you $10,000"? Like they're so rich, like that's like saying a Duke and Duke $1 bet. Like I'll bet you a dollar, bet you $10,000. Like that's nothing if he loses it. Look, GOP debates, Republican debates are taking place. I guess what I wanted to say was, it's unfathomable that we can look at this and anybody takes it seriously. But then I was just saying I took it seriously at one point. But I don't know if that's a fair comparison because it's played out as a fake script so many times where, we grew out of it. Why can't everybody else? Well, we know why. The ship of fools, the download, the frequency, etc. But guys, I had to go look it up. I didn't want to embarrass myself. If that, I don't watch any news or anything. If that war between the Saudi government and some sort of rebels in Yemen, went away 4 years ago, I don't want to completely look like I'm out of touch. Well, I found an article said the fighting between the Houthi rebels and the Saudi government that backs a puppet coalition in Yemen is largely coming to an end or has subsided, it said, in 2023. So we've got that to look forward to if anybody's going out to the region on vacation. If I would consider going to the region if I could be assured I could be left alone by its one world system. To blame a certain country or to blame a certain government or certain group, Matt, when are you going to blame Matt, when are you going to blame oh yeah, it's all them. It's not a one world system with the evil behind it, which I call not milk, which is Clinton backwards. No, it's just that little country. I see. Go back to your blocks and play sand, first grade truthers. Lucky for us, we have a new destination, Yemen. I'd go. Oman. Is it still there? I'd go to places like this. if somebody could assure me I could be left alone, where I don't know, just some authority would come by, some authority, a taxing authority, or do you have the right to be in this country, or just to be left alone. Is there anywhere in the world to go? I don't think I would. Maybe the inner depths of the Amazon rainforest basin. I wouldn't survive there very long. I would be left alone for a few weeks, but there'd be a snake that would get me. I can't. Some tribe would be. I can't live with the tribe that wears no clothes, and then they take the little poison off the back of the. It's like a bright yellow frog or a bright blue frog or a mouse. Who listen? Who that must be some sort of color code. Mike Bright. Oh, he's going to say an orange frog. Take the little. Take the. It's a needle dart. They can live out there. They've learned to live out there. I wouldn't make it. I would. One quick thing that I almost forgot about, but I'm looking at myself wearing the hat, so I'm glad I should have done this right off the bat because there's already some idiots started to comment about the hat. I'm doing this because of the last video when I wore the hat. Look, friends, Thaddeus and Heidi sent me the hat. I wore it, I don't know, a month ago in a video. It's the nicest, warmest hat. I'm bald. My head gets ice cold. People, idiots, will comment on the logo or the symbol. Or, Matt, is that a talisman of some kind? Or a character? Or whatever you may call it, guys, here's the main thing to talk about to get out of the way. Um, any idiot that commented on the last time I wore the hat on the symbol, the character, the logo, whatever. Well, one, if it's just a troll, a troll will put anything out to the general audience to get you to question Matt. That Matt might not be what he seems to be. Any way to plant that? Usually, it can't be planted directly because nobody has anything on me. I've been here in the house for 22 years. I can be found. It's not, I'm not going back and forth between the Joe Rogan studios, so they don't have anything on me other than just to plant vague notions that Matt might be something else. So that's the work of the troll. Others would say, "Oh, Matt, I know that logo. That's evil," or something like. See, these are the people, the idiots that we really have to have a conversation with. Do you think, as a real, powerful, timeless being, do you think that a real being in any way could be affected negatively from a symbol? Let's just say Thaddeus and Heidi aren't my friends and they're working against me. Oh, we need to be nice to Matt and we need to correspond with Matt for 3 or 4 years. Then we can send him the hat with the little symbol on it, and that'll really take him down. See, it's very simple, guys. Powerful beings are bigger than the symbols of this world. I don't give a shit what's in the little blue circle, if you see what I mean. It could be somebody could send me a hat, and let's say it was nicer and softer than this one, and it had that symbol that I'm not supposed to talk about, a certain mark that say came up during World War II, that has roots into ancient Vedic tradition. It was good back in the day, but then Mustache Man corrupted it. If if that hat was good enough, I'd wear that. I don't care. That's not a good example because that's just something that's socially taboo. Something that really is a spell, or real beings are not subservient to symbols and characters and logos, guys. So any idiot that commented that the symbol could be evil, they're basically saying they're low. They're admitting they're low creatures, like Schmeagol, Gollum from Lord of the Rings. They're saying that a real powerful being should be worried about a symbol. Well, the symbol, even if it is evil or negative, it has no effect on me. Why? Because I said so. And I don't need to declare it I gave that affirmation out, as many of you have, guys, a long time ago. All the symbols of this world, the Nike swoosh. And of course, it all has to do with the harvesting of energy and the egregore type things, and how their alchemy works, and who knows, who cares. But you all did, or many of you did, the affirmation, as I did many years ago, just saying things like, whatever Nike's trying to do with the swoosh doesn't work on me. Maybe it works on my friend Tony and the masses that are on this sort of frequency or download, or it doesn't work on me. And I don't even think powerful beings need to do the affirmation, but it's safe, so I don't need to keep doing the affirmation. If a hat shows up with a strange symbol and a blue logo, well, I don't care what it is. I trust Heidi and Thaddeus, but let's just say I really don't know. I don't care what the intent is. There's no possible way it can harm me. Uh, who are the low creatures that commented that they should be? They must have just been trolls, because everybody here understands that. You could give me a hat with a damn. Who cares what would be on it? One of the phallus floats from the Pride Parade, and I'd wear it if it was comfortable enough. So, guys, this is the same thing with the little first grade truthers worrying about. Somebody sent me a video of a video where, oh, I think this truther is, it's the same thing we did 10, 12, 14 years ago, giving hand symbols, or that's such first grade truth. Or, oh, that dropped the 33, or Matt will often say 5 or 6 times, and that's the 11. It's such a bunch of, please, can those people just go away? I'm sure there's still first grade truther activities on BitChute. Go away and do that sort of thing. We're at a point where we don't, symbols of this world, if they are meant or created even by the not milk to influence or to whatever they do, whatever energy, they don't work on us, guys, because we said so. It's really that simple. Go away, trolls. All right, guys, let's do the main topic, or the reason I wanted to make this video in the first place. It has to do with the discussion that was started in the last 25 minutes of the last video, where during chapter 29, I just said, let's just throw out the rest of the book chapter and dive into this issue that we've never really dived into in detail before. Anything I didn't get to in chapter 29, I'll just extend into a long chapter 30. And guys, I'm going to do a 2 minute or less summary in case anybody missed the last video. I promise I'll stick to the 2 minutes. But one thing that needs to be said before the summary. People that emailed me or certain comments, I don't want to say they were triggered. They were in a way bothered by the way I presented it. I don't think they certainly didn't like my example of the kid coming off the boats at Utah or Omaha Beach in Normandy in World War II. And I was presenting it like he didn't have a choice. Just gunned down at Utah Omaha Beach, bot, gunned down by the not milk. And did he have a choice? People didn't like that, but the people that were a little bothered or triggered by this, you're missing the big point in the way some of the comments and emails were presenting to me, missing the biggest point of all. Maybe I didn't use the right example, but the example itself was immaterial. It didn't matter what it. Maybe I should have used an example that was much more one-sided. So let me just do the 2 minute summary, guys. I promise I'll stick to it. Then we'll continue this very important conversation. It gets to the bottom of what are the rules here? How does the not milk need to operate? What lines has it crossed lines and broken its contract, or is it allowed to break its contract in this regard? So here's the summary. Promise it'll be short. Okay, for years here we've talked about the not milk or the screen needing to operate behind a trick, at least in how it deals with us. One of the main lines in my one-page final reality summary at the end of the book, which I presented many times over the years, that constantly gets refined and revised, is one of the main sentences. It can't do it to you directly, at least a certain type of individual that's here. Maybe people like you, people like me. It can't just drive up to you and throw you in the trunk directly. It needs to operate behind a trick. Okay, we've been noticing that and talking about its need to do that for many years. So the point was, what about all the examples we have in this world when it's not operating behind a trick? For example, like I referenced in the last video, somebody's apartment building this morning in Gaza or West Bank was blown out. So I can't give any gory details. I don't want another, what do they call it? Inciting, the playing of violins. Inciting violins. Inciting the playing of violins, bot. I don't want that. So it's whether that person whose apartment building was blown out. I use the example of a 20-year-old going off to fight or coming off the beaches in Normandy. I used a Vietnam example, things like that. So whether the person was put out on the street, their leg was crushed, whatever, or worse, it's pretty hard to say that the person that was just, reading their Mad magazine in Gaza this morning in their apartment building got blown out by a U.S.-made F-16 flown by the Israeli, what do you call is it the IAF, the Israeli Air Force? I don't know. Was that person, they were kind of screwed over directly by the not milk, wouldn't you say? There's no trick kind of going on there. So the last 25 minutes of the video prior, we pondered, well, does it have to deal with different types of entities in different ways? Are you and I the same as that person or being or entity that got their apartment building blown out? So let's just take this one step at a time. To the people, I got emails, comments about, okay, fine, I'll give it to you. It was a poor example about using the person coming off the boats in Normandy at, say, Utah Beach. Now, we can argue that example, and I disagree with what people were saying to me. I don't think that kid has a choice, but we'll get to that in a second. Okay, I know that's what triggered people. Okay, it doesn't matter. Are you then saying that the bigger issue is all that matters here? Are you saying, forget my World War II example, are you saying that the not milk then always has to operate behind a trick and can never harm somebody directly? I mean, think of the amount of war it's cooked up and people that have been ancillary, if that's the, I don't mean to, be insensitive, ancillary victims of the war, or the apartment building in Gaza that's blown out this morning. Did it operate behind a trick before those people were harmed? Well, obviously not. I think it's pretty safe to say that the not milk or the outer screen has harmed innocents millions and millions of times without having to operate behind a trick. And this is what, for years, I've had a tough time reconciling. I just think of the amount of wars it's cooked up and civilian casualties, people in the wrong place at the wrong time. Obviously, I mean, the not milk has harmed, or much worse, millions and millions that you could say it didn't trick them into dooming themselves. Their apartment building got blown out. So that's the bigger issue. That's all that matters in this discussion. What does it matter whether you like my example about the 20-year-old getting off the boat at World War II? I mean, we could have that discussion. I don't agree with what came into me. I will give that 20-year-old a pass. What basically came into me was that 20-year-old should have known better, and there still was a trick being played. And okay, well, maybe I was wrong in that example. Like, but does that matter per the bigger? Are you saying then the not milk has never harmed, or worst anybody else? I mean, nobody ever was killed. There's never been an innocent victim in a world war. I mean, well, okay, my example about Normandy, fine, it was a bad example, but so what? Does that have anything to do with the larger issue? So we come right back to the bigger issue of course it has harmed many, and or much worse than harmed. And how do we reconcile that? Because at least the way we observe the outer screen, or the asshole dark, or the not milk, it needs to play a trick. So we talked about, well, maybe the being that is harmed directly and instantly or tragically may not be the same being as you are, or entity. Therefore, it has a different set of rules for that entity versus you and I, for example, where, oh, that type of being that you are, or what this population is, or what Matt is, oh, per the rules of the contract here, as it being a role player, we need that powerful being to doom itself. That's the game it's playing with us. Where, oh, this population, oh, we can do whatever we want to them directly. Maybe it's not the same as you. We talked about maybe it's another incarnation of you or of higher self, where the role of that incarnation is not to figure out the world as we're trying to figure it out, and we see how futile that is, and we're doing the worry about yourself activities, and we're leaving trying to figure it out behind, but not that entity that still could be associated with you. Or we talked about the simultaneous incarnations of higher self theory. I know that triggers people. Guys, there's a lot of people here. I can't please every group all the time. The big people here understand that one thing out of 4 or 5 that Matt says they're not going to like, they're not going to agree with, but there's enough here to stimulate conversation, to stimulate big thinking, that they're big enough they stick with me, and I appreciate that. A lot of people do. A lot of people take their ball and go home every week. Somebody I know, or somebody takes their ball goes home, and I appreciate y'all sticking with me. And sometimes in my presentation, guys, I can be caustic. I can be a condescending kind of an asshole sometimes, and I can be, and I do apologize. I just want to say if I knew that this population, everybody here was like old guard friendly. Do you know how much different my countenance would be? Is that a word? My countenance and my relationship with you, or as my presentation is taking place, would be so much different if it was just a group of friends and we just trusted each other. I mean, you'd see my guard would be let down. It would be a much more friendly mat. People that deal with me one on one, it's a friendly mat. I can be, the amount of troll activity, the amount of people that just want to put their little jabs in, just get me, or the size of the group here is so large that I apologize. I do have, maybe it's a necessary a front that I have to keep up, and sometimes I can get a little, I don't know, a little condescending, and I apologize. I apologize. It would be a completely different presentation if I knew everybody here and it was a much smaller group. I think people that have been with me a long time would say, Matt, you were different when it was just 5 to 10,000 people, and it was very friendly, and there was very little comments about trying to jab or get me or troll activity. So anyway, guys, sorry for that sidebar. So, but if there's somebody once a week will just they don't like what I'm saying and they'll take their ball and go home. It's like, why? I mean, if you don't like what I have to say, you're missing out on all the good comments. I try to stimulate discussion about things that hardly anybody talks about. So, anyway, it's unfortunate. If you take your ball and go home based on a few things said, you ain't ready to graduate this reality. You got a lot of work to do. Sorry. Anyway. I guess what I'm saying, if I was out to just be liked, my presentation would be a little bit different. Sometimes the topics we discuss are awfully difficult to discuss. So obviously, sorry about my World War II example was bad one. Is that really relevant? Now you're doing it again, Matt. It doesn't matter. The not milk has harmed or worse tens of hundreds of millions of people over how many years? And how do we reconcile that? Well, it didn't operate behind a trick. Is anybody going to say, well, nobody was forced to live in Gaza. They knew, should have known what was coming and should have moved away? I mean, that's the type of bullshit you get. What? That doesn't make any sense. So, okay, if it can harm people directly, then one of the other things to talk about is it doesn't get the same thing out of it. It's not just about trying to blow out somebody's apartment building and put them in the alleyway homeless living in a tent or worse. It's out to harvest energy. It's out to get something from itself for itself. Talked about. I don't think that this thing we call not milk and the minions that work for it in its implementations, like Santa Claus Schwab and Melvin P. of the Belinda and Melvin P. Foundation, of course. They're role players that I don't think they might, at that level, they might not even understand their role here is to block our spiritual journey. I think they're put here as role players, knowing that as they play out their role in their own self-interest, it will just by default block our spiritual journey, block what we're supposed to do here with distraction and not doing the worry about yourself activities. And so it's like, do the minions and those that are implementers for the not milk, do they even understand their ultimate role of why they're here? There's an argument to be made that they don't. They don't. If it's all about what they need to do, if it's all about what they need to do for themselves to feed themselves and their egregore, or however that works, then they're going to act in self-interest but benefit the overall reason they're here. Their benefit, I mean, Matt, did you just imply that them blocking our spiritual journey is a benefit? Yes, because to me, it's clear that this reality system was created for us not to just immediately be awarded all the gold medals and blue ribbons and full knowledge and wins. There would be nothing to gain if we knew everything coming in from the first moment of birth. When we've talked about this, it's so obvious, but this still triggers people, triggers a lot of people. Talk about, Matt, how can it be a school or a test or something we can benefit from if we come in here so blind? Well, the proof is in the pudding. We're benefiting right now. Everybody listening to me would say, are you the person that you were at 25 or 35 years old? Do you feel you've grown tremendously, even though you might be a little calloused and hardened as to how this world works? Do you feel you're a much better person than you were spiritually or by any other definition than you were at age 25 or 30 or 35? Almost everybody listening to me, so some troll that's trying to monitor what I'm saying or something would be like, of course I'm a better person. So the proof is in the pudding. We've grown. Now, how exactly this has happened, I mean, we don't exactly know, but a lot of these channels will be like, it can't be a school or a learning experience or a test or a benefit if we come in blind. Well, we are benefiting. It's that simple. Okay, if maybe they're not benefiting, those that run these sorts of channels. So in any sort of benefit, working out with weights or training to run a marathon, it's difficult along the way. You have to have an asshole dark role player here to overcome it, to benefit yourself. Okay, it's the same stuff we've talked about a million times. We come into the reality just lying around under fruit trees in perfect weather. There's nothing to be learned from that. You need these assholes, in my opinion, are necessary role players. Not a ton of people that triggers here, but there's a small group that's still here. They don't like that for some reason. That the whole reality's been it wasn't meant to be like this. It was corrupted, and it was just Matt. It was supposed to be us lying around on beaches with fruit trees. Haven't you seen The Beach with Leonardo da Vinci DiCaprio, and that horrible actress, that woman that ran the whole beach community? That I don't know what that thing is, that androgyny thing. That I don't like that actress. She played Gabriel in Constantine. She pops up everywhere. Brad Pitt's little love interest in the lower part of Poland in Benjamin Button or wherever he was stationed. I mean, that woman bothers me. I don't, Matt, it might, I can hear you, Trans Paco Taco Paco Army. It might not, that's one where you might be right. Who knows what that thing is? Sorry. I pulled up an email here, guys. I'm going to read part of it just to address the many people that didn't like my example. And there could have been a more clear example than the soldier being deposited on Utah Beach, World War II, Normandy, that is immediately cut down by a German machine gun. Saying that is an example I put out as the not ilk harming somebody where it's not operating behind a trick. Many people said, no, there is still a trick being played. That person fell for it. Well, I completely disagree. I think before we get back in the weeds and have fun on this, I think, I did present the larger issue that, you know, the not no we have millions and millions of case examples of somebody being harmed or worse where it wasn't operating behind a trick. Okay, that's been said. And this email is from Pat. Now, Pat, look, don't take your ball and go home. I am gonna, pick on your email here a bit. You're yelling at me now saying, well, I'm not there to defend myself. How fair is this? Not fair at all. Matt, live stream would solve that. Oh yeah, if the little chat box was scrolling along the right, then Pat could defend himself, whatever. Well, Matt, I'm not going to be convinced you're real, Matt, and you're a Max Headroom until you do a live stream. Somebody once a week calls it live stream is the old. You know what? It's like, what is he saying, Rain Man? Rain Man, Kmart sucks. Live stream, most of the ones I've seen suck. Okay, this mindless chat going on over here. Most of the comments aren't even about what's being said, and you have to wait forever. Somebody's like live, and then there's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You're waiting for the live. Then somebody gets on the live stream. You're like, oh, we need to wait 10 minutes to have this. Unless you do it exactly at the right look. Do you think that would be beyond my capability, my ability to do a live stream? Well, what's the difference? Talk here for 50 minutes. Sometimes I'm doing a little bit more editing with these sorts of videos. You should just sit down and talk for 40 minutes, but I'm not as used to talking in front of the camera anymore. Anyway, guys, so Pat, you're not here to defend yourself. This isn't very fair, but I'm still going to do it, okay? And I'll try to be as fair as I can. Don't take your ball and go home, okay? I'm not giving any personal information about who you are. He took exception about my example of somebody being deposited on the beach in Normandy, basically saying, no, they did have a choice, and the not no still operating behind a trick. So number one on the list says he chose to be there regarding the 19 or 20-year-old deposited on Utah Beach in Normandy who jumps into the water and within 10 seconds is taken out by a German machine gun nest, what they call pillbox nest, German machine gun, 10 seconds. So the not Nelk is still operating behind a trick because he chose to be there. Somebody didn't just kidnap him and dropped him there. Really? He chose to be there? Let's just see what you think. I'm not sure I'm going to convince Pat. I hope, again, it's not fair, Pat. You're not here to defend yourself. It's not fair. But I appreciate you writing this email, and it will be a part of this video. But let's put ourselves in this situation. 1941 was Pearl Harbor. 1944 was D-Day, right? So this person could have been 16 or 17 on the day of Pearl Harbor. So obviously, if we were back in that day, it's 60 years old, are we going to see through Pearl Harbor? People like us back in the day? We don't have access to the internet, the worlds of information that have been made available to us, a reality that is broken down before our eyes, seemingly because it needs to break down, maybe because it's behind schedule, maybe because it doesn't have to put the same level of professionalism up in its presentation because so many people are on the ship of fools. Its presentation back in the day, I assure you, was far more legitimate and professional. So I'm saying if I was 60 years old in 1941, I would probably believe in every bit of Pearl Harbor, meaning we understand the issues with it. Okay, we're not going to, let's not do a sidebar. Maybe I would have observed repeating themes in how politics is presented, or repeating themes in of groups that are considered to be threats to national security. And maybe I would have started to scratch my head a bit and question things. But I would probably have believed in every bit of it. This is a reality that has given itself away. Not that we're such geniuses in seeing through it. All right. Forget what we would see. All right. Not everybody's going to be like Greg was taking a test. My buddy Greg was taking a test during the big moment or the big day, 2001, that morning. Continuing education, something to do with his work. So all the doors were shut. Nobody knew what was going on. 2 hours later, he comes out. Everybody's watching these televisions. Within, I don't know, he said like within 5 or 10 minutes, he's like trying to tell people that there's no way that can happen. Not everybody has that level of intuition, but again, we're talking about the 19-year-old here. He was 17 or 18 as after Pearl Harbor, as he's seeing these news stories come in, the rise of the German war machine. Now Hitler has invaded Czechoslovakia. Now Hitler has invaded Poland. So this, at the time, watching all this go down, 18-year-old is supposed to see that this is a not no trick, and he chose to be there? Really? Ugh. Now, if you say he chose to be there, the proviso here is anybody would have a chance of seeing through the trick and not being. Is it? See, some might say, well, he didn't have to. Matt, he can believe in every bit of the German, the presentation and the war machine, how it was played and cooked up on both sides. He can still be anti-war and not go off to fight. They're two separate issues. If you truly believe that there's a evil menace that is going to just roll across all of Europe, of which 100 million people will suffer, if it truly is that evil, and it's not at its root and not no trick, then going off to fight it is a just thing. Of course it is. It's not, you can't say it's a just thing if they cooked up and playing both sides. But okay, so so the 19-year-old's supposed to be able to see through everything, have full knowledge of everything, supposed to say no, that this German menace isn't, it's just not no contrived, it's not legitimate, it's not on its own legitimate. I don't understand this argument. I don't. And guys, again, this is just fun. The bigger argument, we all see that the not no has harmed people against their will, so this is irrelevant anyway, right? The German chose to shoot the stranger. We're talking about the not no needing to play a trick or needing to operate behind a trick, and that what we think is some sort of a rule in this reality, at least as it relates to a certain type of being or individual, that rule seems to be broken. The German chose to shoot the stranger. We're talking about the consequences to the kid jumping out. That's irrelevant. All Allied soldiers chose, I don't know what this means. The parents raised the ones who chose to be the soldiers. Well, okay, really, the grandparents raised the parents. If the grandparents were fooled, then the parents were fooled, and how that just goes on today. How they think they should raise their kids, how the world works. So that's even more of a give the kid an excuse that he shouldn't have been able to see through the trick. He was brainwashed by his own parents to believe the world works a certain way. So he's supposed to see through that. Okay, enough. Patrick, you're so confident in the way you present this. I'm not sure. I don't understand how this holds up, my friend. And I hope you're not throwing stuff at your computer because it's not fair for me to do this without you sitting next to me and being able to debate each other. I guess that's what this channel will someday evolve into. Um, when the book is done and we can only do the half page so many times, I guess the only way to keep it going would be, how do you keep it going when it's a half page? When we will have debates, and then maybe we will invite the trolls in and just have, I don't know what do we used to use back in the day to do meetup groups, or we'll do online debates. Um, Scott Pilgrim against the world, Matt Quantum of Conscious against the world. I'll debate other truthers, trolls, liberals, people of different religions. Why not? I like to argue that could be a lot. Maybe that's where the channel will evolve. Then Pat will come back and gain his revenge on a one-sided presentation. Matt, even if Billy Madison was doing the podium by himself, we could win the company over that. What did that guy say? Billy, never in my entire life have I heard such an incoherent, illogical, and retarded response. I grant you no points, and this audience is worse off for having heard your answer. God rest your soul. Sorry. That's what Pat wants to say to me. So, guys, let's get back. Let me pause to see what else there is. And look, Zara came to say hi. Hi, Zara. Okay, so I'll just admit that the example I used, World War II, bad example, and it just was destined to create a little bit of controversy. Okay, but to move on, I guess to summarize and move on, and we'll talk about this a lot more in the future, I think almost everybody here would agree that there are like thousands of examples where the not milk did not operate behind a trick, caused intentional harm or worse to somebody. And guys, I'm sorry to keep saying it like that, or I'm so careful with certain hobo code, but I received a inciting violins and violas strike, and you come to your channel and you're locked out and you can't post. That's how I put food on the table. It's a little, how they can just take it all away in an instant. And it was just because of a really ridiculous joke about Biden. They thought I was inciting violins and violas, the musical instruments, bot. So I have to say that if the not milk harms somebody or does even worse, we have thousands of examples where there's no way a person should have seen it as a trick and being able to see through that trick. I mean, look at Mao, for example. The world estimates Mao 50 million to 70 million dead. Um, during this thing they call the Cultural Revolution. There's always the most egregious things have this name that make it sound kind of like something you'd want to participate in. Oh, the Cultural Revolution? How can I get involved in that? Look, it seems high to a lot of people, that number, 50 to 70 million. But does it matter? What if it was 1 million? Mao's then a nice guy. There's still a lot of innocents harmed during thousands of things that the not milk has done. And that just goes without saying. So when it is able to do this because it does do that. So the main dilemma is, the different theories as to how is it able to do that, where as we observe it, it's always seemingly like it needs to operate behind a trick to get us to fall for it, to doom ourselves, to corrupt ourselves, to get us to not do the worry about yourself, part two, the work things that we need to do in the little time we have left in this place or this world and this thing we call life. So one of the reasons we talked about, guys, in the last video, and these reasons will stay on the table, or these possibilities will stay on the table until somebody, comes along and just tells me why I'm wrong. And guys, it seems like I'm a little intransigent. Matt, you'll never come off your viewpoints. I'm open. I really am. I am open. I mean, look at the chapter presentations. Guys, nobody has come forth. Even a troll from the chapter presentation said, Matt, this 10 minutes of this chapter is just wrong. Please, I want you to rip it apart. I want you to come tell me if it's wrong. I'm waiting. I appreciate a lot of the support I get, but if a certain part of a chapter you just find dreadfully wrong, I want to hear about it. I'm open. I really am. It doesn't do anybody any good. Me saying being all set in my ways up here, being intransigent. So guys, um, these will stay on the table until somebody convinces me to take them off. And one thing I keep on the table is we could be a certain type of incarnation here. Um, the rules may dictate it can only operate behind a trick. It could be that type of incarnation, like I'm suggesting you or I are, could be similar to what Tony talks about, the simultaneous, I won't get into this, we've done this many times, simultaneous incarnations of higher self, where there are a few incarnations that serve the higher self by seeing through the trick, by not being fooled, by not letting worrying about logos and symbols on hats and stupid first grade truth stuff. And maybe the rule or the contract for that type of entity is the not milk, loses immediately if it does not operate behind a trick. All right, the higher self has Matt, this, and this. I know that triggers a lot of people, and I don't mean to piss you off, but just go with it. If Matt is a type of incarnation that has a chance of seeing through everything and graduating the higher self out of these types of realities, then per the rules here, it must operate behind a trick. Per the rules here, Matt, then if you were in that apartment in Gaza, that apartment could not, the bottom of that apartment building could not have been blown out? Maybe not. Maybe not. Again, I'm sure, I feel, we're missing things here, of course. I just started floating this for the first time in the last video. This is one of the hardest things, if not the hardest things to reconcile in all of the pursuit of truth in terms of understanding the rules or the game that this not milk role player is playing here. So I don't think we're going to figure it out in 2 videos. I think it's going to take a little while. So all I can do is float ideas at this point. You could be an entity or the highest foot soldier for your higher self that you could be the person that breaks the game, for example, or gets all of the manifestations or incarnations of yourself out of here. And maybe the not milk, if you're in a certain apartment complex in Gaza, the not milk can't blow out that apartment complex in Gaza bot. If you're that type of, that could be a rule. What were some of the other things we talked about? That, unfortunately, I don't like to put it this way, but it has to be kept on the table. That, well, it's similar to what we just talked about. Um, it simply can't do that to any sort of being like you. It always has to operate through a trick in dealing with a being like me or you. So by that rationale, if somebody's apartment building in Gaza Strip was blown out, leading to whatever, that those people might not have been the same as you. And I don't, I'm sorry. The NPC, a different type of incarnation. People have floated comments, the background characters, or I have to keep it on the table. I'm not trying to run anybody down. I feel for the people that are, what is going on. I would think there's a lot of people in Gaza that are like us, and they didn't ask to wake up one morning and Hamas missile attacks, which they know what the retaliation is going to be. And yeah, I don't need to do. I'm not going to do a sidebar. I know it's likely all a script and all organized right from the same ministry hideout where the Legion of Doom, the center where the Legion of Doom or the Super Friends tried to conquer. I know, but it doesn't matter if there's still real people that don't see through reality like we do, that wake up in the morning, that woke up in the morning 8 weeks ago and went, oh, what did they do? Because we know the retaliation that's coming. And, because of the retaliation that came, the not milk isn't operating through a trick. A trick from their overall it is, but is anybody going to send me an email on this? A trick from their perspective? So if there's a real being like you in an apartment building in Gaza that had no access to the type of well, let's just go with truth research or whatever we've done over the last 10 years, just trying to survive as a this person, the real being in Gaza was just they didn't have time to do all the truth research. They were just trying to they have 5 kids. They're trying to work 65 hours a week. So they're supposed to they should have seen through the trick. And what would have they have their apartment building was blown out, right? What would they have done if they were like us and saw through the trick and saw not milk and saw how cake in a lake everything was? What were they supposed to do? Um, they're supposed to, well, I guess, move to their what we talked about this their second or third home in Geneva or Lake Como or the Alps or maybe Malibu, where they have a house positioned right behind Barbara Streisand's, but a little less expensive because it doesn't have the same ocean view. What are they supposed to do if if they see that their apartment buildings are being blown out, right? Isn't that the not milk seemingly violating the rules and directly harming a real spiritual being without a trick, without having to play a trick, without that being having to do it to themselves? So I'll look to your comments here, guys, and sometimes if this is the last issue in a video, the comments get muddied up with stuff like the hat, and that you have to. I've learned that the first main topic is what will get most of the comments. So it's going to be a bit muddied. So we'll have to do a video sometime. If you want to hold your comment back for that video, we'll do a dedicated video within a week or two just on this topic. Say, okay, Matt, you floated some possibilities as to how the not nickel is able to harm so many millions and tens of millions without having to operate through a trick. But Matt, I believe your what you've placed on the table so far, other than Czar, is total horseshit. You're missing this could be happening or that could be happening. But I do think we have general agreement at this point that there are hundreds of millions of examples over time where it just blew somebody's apartment out and it didn't operate through a trick. And there's probably going to be some people that actually believe that somebody living with 5 kids in Gaza still should have seen through the trick somehow. I'm not sure. They were born into it, and where are they supposed to go? They're supposed to live with Boris Becker in where did he live? What I almost said Puerto Vallarta. He wasn't on the Pacific Princess getting off with Vicky at Puerto Vallarta. Um it's the where they run the not Le Mans. It's where they run the Formula One. The what do you call it? Zara isn't. She's distracting me. I can't I can't do two things at once. Um, it's called Monaco. That's right. It's called Monaco. I Zara was getting a little bit my attention. I couldn't think about two things at once. Monteco. I mean, I don't think most people in the West Bank and Gaza have that high rise in Monteco. So they're kind of in a certain situation that I don't believe they have a say over. Ooh, she can get a little frisky sometimes and she can bite. Not because she's being mean to me. She used to be mean, but she will just get excited sometimes, as people with cats, young cats know. They'll bite at you and they don't mean to hurt you. They're just excited. Or they'll take their claws and pull your hand in and they don't know they're putting their claws right through your skin. Um, anyway, she's her nails haven't been done for a very, very long time because she won't let me do them. And if that's the case, Matt, don't turn. Will you turn this into a cat conversation? Just 10 more seconds. The only thing you have to watch is the hook claw up the. This can grow into can get real nasty and grow into them. If you don't have carpet, cement or wood, the nails will kind of grind themselves down. Other than the one that's up the wrist, that can get thick and cause a real problem. Anyway, sorry, guys. Matt, just pick the Bill Clinton doll up and go for it. Just go do a live stream just with us with nothing planned and see how it goes. It'd probably be better than the videos I typically make, right? Look at what a clown this president was. Can I say that? Can I say that under the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution? Matt, I see you're drinking a poison. Yeah, you know, I'm not. I know there's a lot of holier than thou truthers, and they are the righteous truthers. They do everything perfect for their bodies. I don't. So what? So I don't get an extra 5 years of life. Who cares? Who cares? Anyway, guys, I'll look at CNN.com one more time, see if there's anything else to talk about. All right, guys, another um, headline from CNN. Trump apparently has floated Tucker Carlson, who could be the vice presidential running mate for Trump's bid to go back into the White House as a completely real and legitimate president. And of course, people think it's comical. A talk show host as a vice presidential running mate? Well, why not? I mean, and if anybody's saying, well, yeah, that makes sense, Matt, because the vice president doesn't have any real power. No, the president doesn't have any, the president doesn't have any power, any real power. It's given away from the first day any new administration moves into the White House. They're given a script. Here's who you're going to meet with. Here's what you're going to say in the Rose Garden. All they do is read from teleprompters anyway. So you could argue that Tucker Carlson would be the most qualified of any vice presidential running mate candidate that's ever existed, because all he's ever done is read from a teleprompter, and they don't need to decide on anything. Okay, the president makes a few decisions. What food to serve to the Japanese ambassador. It's not much beyond that. It's like, who do we got coming in today? The script is always given to them. They told where to go, when to go. Um, oh, we got the Japanese ambassador. Yeah, it's up to me what food we serve. They're going to let me decide that. Do we have any Kobe beef laying around? Kobe beef is like, I don't. It's like what do they say? $150 a pound or something. There's this thing I've heard about called Kobe beef. Do we have any poisonous blowfish? How old's the Kobe beef? Get that chef up here. That's the extent of the president's, power, in my opinion. Doesn't go much beyond that. So why wouldn't Tucker Carlson, anybody, and why does it for that fact, Matt? Why does it even have to be a real human, or what they call human? Anybody in a body? It could be a Dr. Theopolis, a talking head of some kind. What was that robot that Saudi, in the biggest mockery of all time, Saudi Arabia made a citizen? Sophie, was it? Some sort of reference to the mother of the demiurge, Sophia. Then Saudi Arabia made Sophie, the robotic woman, a citizen, when I don't think Saudi. I don't think their own women are citizens. What goes along with the need to wear the burqa? The citizenship. I don't know. It maybe not. They must be very upset that the damn robot Sophie got the citizenship. What are the perks of that? Of Sophie, the robot citizenship, is just running around the damn palace in the damn. And I've heard they're the biggest hypocrites in the world. These kids. Sorry, it's technically somebody came to me once. I used to work with the international insurance. Matt, you don't just write Saudi Arabia when you write your memo, boy. You write KSA, Kingdom of Saudi, always in the kingdom official, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm sorry. Talk about hypocrites. The women went out in public, burqas and all that. As soon as somebody told me that knows a few things, put it that way, they get on their private plane to go to the West, to New York City or whatever, and all the traditional clothes come off, and the damn jeans go on. Maybe not with the cigarettes rolled up in the t-shirt, the wife beaters, maybe, but then all of a sudden, all that tradition just goes away. But hey, whoever floated that to me, what do they know, right? I'm sure these people in these Saudi palaces are completely legitimate, and just like any ruler, a king, queen, president, prime minister, premier. What's the three P's? What the hell's the difference? President, premier, prime minister. Just pick one. That confuses even me. We have a president. I guess what's the assistant ski instructor up in Canada, Trudeau. He's a prime minister, right? Yeah. Now where's a premier? Is that Germany or China? Premier. I don't know. It's confusing. Pick one. They all have no power anyway. They all report to the one world system, not milk. And they're not even at the front of the creepy table. I think they have seats in the back. The presidents, prime ministers, and premiers are told to get coffee and crimpets. Donald, who is some creepy character, the CEO of a major drug company, or the old money that's sitting around the creepy table related to the Harrimans and the Vanderbilts and the Gettys. Somebody could actually believe that a company can control all images. It can, all images are controlled worldwide when, at least from a business perspective, you have to go to them. But Matt, you can get your image and your shit from Shutterstock. Oh, I'm sure it's a different company. Yeah, it wouldn't be the same. They would have no ability to do that. The perception of competition probably all leads back to the same creepy table. And so there's 100. Let me get this straight: 100 million images a day. Some are very, very high quality, taken on 8K camera phones. 100 million a day, but one company controls all images from a corporate and commercial perspective. Well, 80%. What it's If that doesn't give away one world system, I don't know what does. Don't know what does. Um, anyway, what else do we have here? DOJ, Department of Justice, announces arrests in high-end brothel network used by elected officials, military officers, and others. This script is this a height? There's another height. What script should we run? What don't we have that Heidi Fleiss script somewhere? The Washington D.C. madam, get her up here. Well, we don't want to use her. Okay, let's do something very similar, and then just call the people in the DOJ, the Pentagon, that we're gonna tell them they were involved in this. Bring Robert Kraft back into this, the owner of the Patriots, whatever. We have to run this same script again. Run it again. Come on. Somebody screaming out, Matt, it's real. Maybe they can't. Per you know how men are. They can't. Men of power can't keep it zipped up. Well, that's true too. Whatever. Here's one. Humanity just lived through the hottest 12 months in at least 125,000 years. Now, what's the first thing anybody without their head up their ass, first thing you think of as somebody that's done what we've done for as long as we've done it, immediately thought, how would they know? How would they know the last 125,000? I guess they would know what last year was like. Okay, even I have little thermometers, or I could give them a decent reporting. But for the last 125,000 years, how would they know? What period was that? The Bronze Age or the Cretaceous period? Did they have little temperature sensors all over? They could tell by digging in the dirt and the strata. See, nobody even thinks about this stuff when these mindless zombies read these headlines. Oh, Al the Boer was right. This is more evidence I can go. My father loves to debate me on primate change and global charming. He just loves it. See how, and he'll, if it's like warm in November, see how warm it is, Matt? Where do you think this is? Where do you think this came from? You're so sure it's a, oh, he loves that. And so it's but this headline, just somebody that loves to push the primate change and global charming, just one more feather in their cap. Say, well, how would they know what the temperature was the last 125,000 years? Oh, they'd run it, they'd run a downloader script. Well, Matt, don't you know? Digging in just a few layers down, through fossils and carbon records and carbon dating. There's no guys. I ain't no scientist. There ain't no way to determine what the damn temperature was 100,000 years ago. Big Matt, they didn't know in 1850 what it was. Some asshole would have put his mercury jar out the window or something. They probably knew, and decent temperature reading was probably around early 1800s. Whatever. Who cares? What else is here? Guys, in terms of C, the V, me, and all that, boostas, punky boostas, and whatever they're pushing, I do want to talk about Moderna is advertising its new booster called Spike Vax. That's nice, isn't it? I just wanted to mention Riku in Finland tells us that his countrymen and women they're just lining up pretty much to get the latest round of boosters, punky boosters, and whatever. With this, is this the fourth or fifth round? I mean, how many will people get? I know they're setting up a culture where, Matt, there will people by the end of their lives will have 20 to 25 updates, and yeah, they're normalizing this. But I don't know what goes down in Finland too often. But Riku is Matt. Just say Riku. It's okay. Sorry. I just have to try to pronounce it like the Ricola commercial. He did. I did apologize to him before. Remember, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that. They're lining up for an. I said, which manufacturer is it? He said it's a different name, but it's Pfizer, and they all want it. It's not like I don't, again, I don't participate too much with real people, and I don't get out much, whatever. So I don't know when they're pushing the latest round of variant. I don't know the punky boosters to combat that variant. Who's interested in it? I have no idea. I have no idea. I guess I should start by asking like my a few close relatives I talk to once every 2 weeks or so. I should just ask them, "Are you getting punky boosters?" I don't know. I don't. It doesn't seem like people are going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs here in the Northeast over new variants like that Riku says in Finland. But I guess they've just normalized it with a certain segment. I don't know what this if it would be 20% of the population or 50%, where it's just every year, just like many people get the old flu shot. They will just get you get the flu shot, and what is the current update on the mRNA, and they'll just get that every year for forever, I guess. But I don't know. I don't get it, but whatever. I just want to give you that update from Finland. Trump is toast. Ex-Watergate prosecutor predicts outcomes of civil fraud trial. Well, they're going to milk that. Of course, they're going to milk that. And the funniest thing, remember, guys, we talked about he could be going to jail right right about the time he's scheduled to be inaugurated as as he quote won end quote won the election. Real votes were counted right about that time. He could be. What if he has to give this would be the first inaugural address from a jail cell? Will they let it? Will he have to do it in the jail cell? Will they let him go into the courtyard, the Shawshank courtyard? Move those weights aside, those 45-pound plates. Get those chin-up bars out of here. The president of the United States has to give an address. We don't want to make this look like the yard in San Quentin. Clean this shit up. He's maybe he'll have to do it from his cell, or maybe it'll be the Shawshank Prison Library. I don't know. But they're capable of taking this pretty far, guys, creating a constitutional crisis. Well, can he pardon himself? And who could pardon him if he's scheduled to go to jail, yet run the country at the same damn time? How's that going to work? Um, they'll if they do. I don't like that either. Like when you can't drop an ISIS the fatter when you say is and you have to say pause is, you don't want to drop an ISIS like Bill Clinton. I don't like the do either. I do that a lot more. What they do is like that can't be. I don't know why I want to say it that way. That's I always think of the police, the do the da. All I wants to say to you that villain Sting giving his concert during the big day in 2001, giving a concert in like Tuscany, Italy, where the first line of the first song in the Sting concert is, "If blood will flow and flesh and steel are one." Now you'd have to be one of those people to think that that's anything but a coincidence. Matt, you really believe Sting giving the concert while the damn event was going down in 2001, the 7-Eleven job application, the big day? You think Sting, the first what is it? What's the song called though? I don't know, but it's "If blood will flow and flesh and steel are one." The first line, yeah. Matt, you people are crazy to think you putting that. That's just a coincidence. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should check myself into the asylum. So, maybe they will play this script out with Trump. I don't think they know exactly what they're going to do yet, guys. They have different variations. It's all gauged from what the Whopper computer collects up from the quote American citizenry, American populace. I think they can change. They always have a backup script. Even if they right now plan on putting Trump back in, I think they read every single tweet. They read, I think they already did, but maybe the Elon Musk taking it over as X, maybe, apparently Elon Musk laid off thousands of people, and those thousands, maybe they need to install a whole new system so every tweet can be read and analyzed within milliseconds, not just within minutes. Maybe they had to get in, and that maybe they figured Twitter or X may be the best way or the most immediate way to gauge the sentiment of the population as it's collected up by their creepy ass horse shit AI. That's like a demonic creature that comes up when you do that. Yeah, I can. Well, yeah, I'm sorry if it scared you. That scared the shit out of my cat. So maybe here Elon Musk comes in, X, they lay off half the people that would like be like, what are you installing that stuff for? Where they now can analyze the sentiment of the country immediately using X or Twitter. So they plan on putting Trump in maybe now, but they could switch it up. They always have a backup plan based on all the emails and all the thumbs up and thumbs down and the videos that they analyze, and they collect up even vocal, cell phone. I mean, at least, there's so much going on they can't collect it up at all of it. I mean, but there's at least it probably listens for keywords, whatever. So they'll one of the scripts already laid out is this constitutional crisis about Trump potentially getting convicted of certain things, but then also going to be your president. So, and then will he? Please let this play out. Please, not Milk, if you're listening to me via the chat GPT and the Chad. I mean, please let Trump be president of the United States for at least a few weeks behind bars. There'd be nothing funnier. Imagine the videos we could make. Guys, just to close out, this topic might not be for everybody, but just to close out, these videos still pop up in terms of the evil Disney, how they're going to go under, the streaming services losing 200 million a quarter, every show is horrible, and the shows are horrible. But guys, there are literally 25 YouTube channels that have a subscriber base between 5,000 and 400,000 subscribers that almost do nothing but talk about the ruination of Marvel, the Marvel Universe, and Disney, and Star Wars by Disney. And I mean, you think I can be repetitive? What if this is what these channels do, going to 300, 400,000, some of them subs. Well, some will stray into, of course, they'll go to Amazon, the destruction of Lord of the Rings through the Rings of Power. I mean, just video after video about how bad Star Wars is. And I don't understand it. I really don't understand how that is the extent of your channel. Although, Matt, well, it seems like you pop in during your lunch break from time to time and watch a few. I do. I do watch a few because the whole thing, first of all, obviously, I believe if anybody's new, 30 seconds or less, of course it's a script. I don't believe Disney's trying to make money and trying to do their best, and the liberal uh, wave of zombies that they've put into all key positions, all management positions, and writers and editors, that they're such zombified liberal wackos that they just have to pour forth their horrible agendas. I believe that is the employee base that works at Disney, but that's how Disney was set up to fail per the script that you put bad people. It's not like everybody's in on it and say go make a movie bad, and I'm telling you to make it bad. They just put people in that are incompetent, that truly can't um, push aside their social agendas. Put those people into power. They will then produce a bad product, trying the very best they can to produce a good product, and they can only produce it in their own from their own social or political perspective, and it only appeals to a tiny little sliver of the population. So what's happening? Of course, it doesn't really matter where we disagree on the specifics. What's happening to Disney is completely artificial. It's all part of a not milk script, and I don't think the script will go as far as to they'll go out of business or anything like that. Um, it blows my mind though how these channels can complain in the same way about Disney, Star Wars, the Marvel Universe, say the same exact things, and never ever. I know I've said this in the past, guys, and this video is getting way too long. And if anybody has anything better to do, of course, anything important that I wanted to talk about is over. But they'll never notice anything that's going on and never even question a bit of what is being presented to them. So these channels will say that they just can't. They marvel at the high cost of these series, like Disney's Ahsoka, the Jedi Ahsoka, which is just horrible. I watched two of them, and I mean, it literally was some of the worst television ever laid down. I turned it off. As I just, I have to check it out just to see how bad it is, and it is as bad as people say. Um, but they say that the budgets are 200 and some million, and the movie reviewer channels or these YouTube channels, they every time they're given a budget number, they just believe it. Well, why does it have to be accurate? Why does it have to be real? Why does any number have to be accurate? The box office numbers. We know the Rotten Tomatoes reviews or the percentage. We know that's not real. The audience score, or they'll question sometimes the score from the professional reviewers. So they're all, liberal supporters of Disney that bow down to the corporate entity. So they'll say the reviewer score is skewed, but then the audience score has to be legitimate. Why does the audience score have to be legitimate? It's all fake. Why does any of it have to be legitimate? They'll tell you that Disney has spent billions of dollars on this streaming service, and it loses the streaming itself. Disney Plus streaming through your cable loses, I don't know what they say, 150 million a quarter, 200, loses billions. Why do any of these numbers, why does it have to be real? Why would a streaming service be so expensive? Honestly, where do these billion-dollar numbers come from? I know I'm no technical expert in this regard, but the provider of the network itself, the servers, the Amazon servers, the internet infrastructure exists. Disney doesn't have to build their own fleet of ships. The internet exists. I have Comcast cable, and those villains, the Comcast cable exists. Disney just says we have all this content, make a channel for us. That's Where's the cost? Where's the billions of dollars? We have the content already done. Where's the cost? But these movie reviewers, okay, I'm sure I'm no industry insider. I'm missing a few things, of course. But if I had right now, if I had done, nobody knew about it, I had done 100 little TV shows here on my own, and they were professionally done, and Hulu wanted to get access to them, and or Comcast wanted to create the Matt channel. I did little masterpiece theater skits. Where would the cost be? They would just provide the channel, and they'd watch my stuff. They'd take part of the profits, and I would take. Okay. So these idiots, these movie reviewers, never ever question anything. They complain in the same way. They don't question what they're given. We're told Amazon Rings of Power was the most expensive. What did they say? It was 200 million to get the rights to the Lord of the Rings or that aspect of those books, and then another 250 million, close to 500 million was the number to put everything together. And I guess I've commented a few times to some of these movie reviewers, like, well, why should I believe that number that Variety magazine tells me? Why? To me, um, what maybe they did acquire the rights for whatever, but let's just push that aside. The production of the Rings of Power, Rings of Power is probably the worst TV series ever put forth in television history. It is that bad. It is that unwatchable. If you watch the Rings of Power, and I'm going to lose subscribers here, but and you liked it, there's something wrong with you. Seriously, there's something wrong with you. It is absolutely horrible. I would literally rather watch a rock just sitting in a bowl of dirt. It's you, as I've said, but remember, I haven't done this. So book us into the room. Put me, Greg, a couple kids from the D&D club down here at the high school, and you in a room, book us into the room, and we could come up with ideas in one day. It would be better than the whole friggin' series. So that anyway, it didn't cost no $250 million to make. To me it cost 20 million to make. The number is 200 million or more overinflated. The actors in Rings of Power are unknowns. They would do it probably for free to get their name out. They're not paid hardly anything. You have no big names. Literally, there's a scene in Rings of Power where there's a well. The well looks plastic. I've seen kids in my high school put on plays where whatever paper mache horse shit that they put together looked very similar. I'm not joking. There's a well in one scene in one episode that looks plastic, and their CGI is terrible. And then they'll go to the Elven City in the backdrop, and Like that, they've laid those templates down in other movies. They have all that they could go to. They could, why is that so expensive? The CGI of that. What does it cost? Couple guys on their CGI, girls on their CGI supercomputers? Costs $5. Anyway, these movie reviewers, they get a clue. I still just some guys' commentary can be very unique and insightful from time to time. Um, but these Yellow Flash is one, just a complete 400,000 subscribers. So the guy shouldn't have 40 subscribers. Complete waste. Doesn't bring anything to the table. Doesn't bring any real humor. Just bitches about this corporation is doing this and this bad content. Um, Desparo has a unique way, but once you kind of get used to his delivery, it loses a little appeal. Kind of like yours, Matt. Yeah, kind of. But I'm trying to get to the bottom of the insights of how the fundamental metaphysical reality works. That's a little bit, even if you don't like me, that's a little bit more interesting. Critical Drinker is the same old, and guys, I don't. The scatological references keep coming with the critical drinker. Scatological is a term that it ties into. It's a reference to something has to do with feces or the TP for bunghole or shit or every single video. It's weird. There's what I'll call a scatological reference. Um, if he doesn't use a or I don't know, he'll say the last one was now there's a theme. Others are talking about it. It's as bad as a wet fart. There's something to that, guys. I'm sorry. You know how a certain element here is in love with the bunghole. And can I say that? TP bot. It's Beavis and Butthead. It's Beavis and Butthead. TP for bunghole. Beavis bot. Beavis and Butthead. It's stupider when I do it. And guys, Matt, you better wrap this video up. You are that close to embarrassing yourself. What if I covered this logo and became a completely different person? You know, Ted, you could come back next summer, over the summer, come back to school, a completely different person. Yeah? All right. Um, Nerdrotic is the same old, same old. Man, Matt, you missed your calling. If you just follow that Not Milk script and reviewed your movies, do it in a certain way, you could have 600,000 subscribers just reviewing your movies. Yeah, probably. But we're gonna keep doing what we're doing here. And thanks for sticking with me. I know it got a little strange. All right, guys. I will see you soon. Hopefully this helped prove I'm not a stable diffusion character. And I will be going back to the Joe Rogan studios tomorrow. So catch me there.